Welcome to another Scale Model Basics. I'm Tim Kidwell, and this time we're going to talk about two-part decal setting systems. What does that mean? Well, that means that a two-part decal setting system comes with two solutions. One to put under the decal to help it adhere, and one to put over the decal to help it settle. That one softens the decal, and that allows the details underneath to show through and make the decal look as if it was painted on. Now, we are going to use Microscale's Microset and Microsol in this particular example. But if you use Tamiya's MarkFit and MarkFit Strong, or Mr. Hobby, Mr. Mark Setter, and Mr. Mark Softer, you're basically going to use the same techniques. So obviously the first thing you're gonna do is dip your decal. Get the decal down here in the water, give it some time, bring it out, put it on the paper towel, let it continue to work, and while it's doing that, we'll go ahead and put the Microset on the piece. Now this piece, as you can probably guess, is just a spare piece that I've put a little bit of paint on for some contrast and a clear coat, just so we can see what's going on. It's gonna bead a bit, so that's okay, don't worry about that. But you wanna make sure you get it on enough of it that it's going to cover where the decal is going to sit. Always put the cap back on. You don't want to accidentally spill your settings. Using a Q-tip, just work the water and the setting solution out from underneath. You're rolling the cotton swab so that we don't accidentally shift the decal or tear it. Now, once you get down to the point where you are happy with how it looks, you're sure that you've gotten as many of the air bubbles out as you possibly can, and it is laying pretty nicely. I'm just going to come back through real quick and give it a firm push down in some areas. Just make sure that I've got it. I'm seeing that I've got a couple of spots where it's not conforming the way that I want it to. Right around in here, spot on the F. So this is where we come back in now with the second part of the system, in this case Microsol, which is the softening portion. So we take some of that and just brush it onto the decal. Now, like I said, this is a paint stripper, so what you want to do is try to localize your application to the decal itself. Don't hesitate to, really lay it on if you need to, on top of the decal. And what you're probably going to start seeing as you apply this is that the decal, not always, but often will begin to wrinkle. That means the softener is doing its job. So don't freak out if you see something like that start to happen. The softener is doing its job, it is softening that decal and helping it conform to the details underneath. Something else to keep in mind is that while the softener is working, the decal becomes more fragile, which means you are now in a state where you are at greater risk of perhaps shattering or tearing your decal. So just be careful. Once you've put the softening solution on the decal, go ahead and walk away. Let it sit. You've applied your Microsol or the softening portion of your two-part decal setting system, and you are seeing that it's settling, but as it's drying, you are starting to notice now that there might be some bubbles underneath. What you can do is you can come back in very carefully with a cotton swab and press directly down over the top of those bubbles. You do not want to create lateral force because remember, your decal at this point is weak because it's been softened. So you don't want to drag or roll or do anything like that, but just directly down For instance, I see a little bit of a bubble right here in this S. So just very carefully push down to help it settle into that area. Is this necessary? Not at all, but it can be helpful to get the decal to settle around the details. So you can do this. And what I like to do is just try to go in a direction where if there is a bubble, you can just go ahead and chase it out to the edge of the decal. Depending on how complex the surface is that you're applying your decal to, you may find that you will want to do a second or maybe even a third application of microsol. So I'm going to do that right now just to show you that you can go ahead and do it and apply it just like you did the previous time. And again, you can lay it on as thick as you would like, or you may not have to do it over the entire decal. Maybe there's just one spot, like right here on this A, maybe there's just one spot that is really giving you some trouble and you want that area to settle down. So you don't have to do it over the whole thing, but maybe just keep it localized to one area. You can go ahead and do that too. And then just like you did the last time, you can press it down or just walk away and let it do its work. Now finally, let's say you've applied your solution, you've pressed out the air bubbles that you can, and you still see that because of the complexity of the shape of the underlying detail, that there's maybe a couple of places still that there are air bubbles in your decal. What you can do is you can come in with a sharp, new number 11 blade, or maybe a pin, and you can go ahead and very gently and then one final time come back in with your softening portion of the system and work that into those areas where those bubbles were, allowing the fluid to get underneath the decal, and as it dries, evaporates, help draw that decal down over the details underneath. And so finally, here it is. This is a pretty big USAF decal that has been applied over a fairly complex surface, and the microscale, microset and microsol two-part decal setting system has helped that settle in very nicely. That's how you use that system, and remember, if you use Tamiya or Mr. Hobby, they're pretty much going to work the same way. I'm Tim Kidwell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.